Hello, and welcome to New IEDU Day 8, Business-Related English. Today's topic is formal letters. The objectives for this unit are first, for writing a formal letter. The organization, talking about chronological order. Strategies of form, audience, topic, and purpose. The vocabulary is comparative adjectives. It also touches on superlative adjectives. And the grammar is future tense with be going to and formal requests and invitations. So, moving forward. Grammar. First of all, the future tense with be going to. This covers actions in the future. So if you use the verb, the be verb, which is, am, are, and going to, and a verb, it is the same as writing will verb. It's another way of doing that. So for the specific future, you could write, for instance, he is going to eat at a restaurant tonight. So is going to take the place of will. He will eat at a restaurant tonight. Mean exactly the same thing. I am going to watch a movie this evening. I will watch a movie this evening. Also have exactly equal meanings. So this be going to is another way to show future so that you don't always use the same form. You want to mix up the will and the be going to be able to help show how things in the future happen. When you're talking about the unspecified future, you just would not put a time frame at the end. For example, she is going to go to the baseball game. It doesn't say when, just that she is going to do it, or she will do it. They are going to run a marathon. It does not specify a time, so it's unspecified future. It might be this Saturday. It might be a year and a half from now. You are not sure because it is not specified in the sentence. So, be going to is another way to show the future tense. When you are writing, you should not use the same form all of the time, so that is why there are different forms within the English language that do the same thing. Next, in grammar, requests and invitations. Requests and invitations can be broken into informal and formal requests. So informally, you could say, I want to go to the party. Okay, that's a request. Or do you want to go to the party? These are not as formal as it would be if you used would like to, or the word please in there. So I would like to go to the party, or we would like to have a party or go to the party is much more formal than I want to go to the party. You would use this in a formal letter instead, so the would like to would be used more often. We would like to have a party. We would like you to go to the party tonight. Okay? We would like to have an MT to work on whatever reason. Okay? Please go to the party tonight would be another way to make a formal request. You're requesting them to do it. You're putting the please in front, and that makes it polite and formal. Vocabulary, actually this is also grammar, but it's also a form of vocabulary. Comparative and superlative adjectives. So, you can use adjectives to actually compare things by adding a suffix or by adding a word before the adjective. And this allows you to actually show the difference between two things. So you're showing the difference between two objects when you're comparing them. So comparative adjectives. Usually it is an ER suffix. That is if it is one syllable or ends with the letter Y, then you would add an ER. Longer adjectives, which is two or more syllables without ending with Y, would add more. It doesn't matter if both objects are small. This is another thing. You have two small objects, so maybe you take two cats and they're both fairly small cats, one of them is still bigger, even if it is a small cat. There are some irregular forms that you should be aware of. The two most common ones are good goes to better, and bad goes to worse. This is important to talk about because I see in writing a lot of times where people say more good or gooder, and that is not correct. Better is the proper term there. Next, superlative adjectives. A superlative adjective is when you want to take a group of things and show one that has the most of that trait. For instance, if you're taking all of the people in a room, one of them will have a birthday that is before everyone else's, so they would be the oldest person in the group. It could be in the world also, so if you say the largest ocean in the world, okay, the largest. So you're comparing a group of all oceans and you're taking the one with the most large. And we add an EST once again if it is a short adjective, which means one syllable adjective or it ends with the letter Y. Longer adjectives use the most in front. You need to use the word the before a superlative adjective or before the word most because it is a specific person or place or thing. Since you are separating one out of a group, you have specified it. So it's the, not a or an. So there's only one tallest student in the class. So in one class, you could measure if you needed to get shorter than a centimeter down to millimeters or whatever, and you could determine who is the tallest. And so we would add the and we would add the EST at the end. So the tallest person in the class is, and then whoever that is. Good goes to the best, bad goes to the worst. Another thing about superlatives is you can take the one that has the least of amount. Least means it does not have it. So you could say the least tall, but most people would actually say the shortest in that case. But it is possible if it's a very specific word like possibly beautiful, maybe you would say the least beautiful if everything is beautiful and you don't want to say ugliest. There is a difference between the least beautiful painting and the ugliest painting. All right, now, the point of today's lesson is formal and informal letters. Yesterday's lesson dealt with business emails. Today we're going to talk more about formal letters. Businesses still write a formal letter and they send it out by post as basically a legal document about their intentions. So formal, you would use more formal letters if you are talking to an older family member, depending on the situation, or if you are sending it to someone who is in a position of power. This could be a boss or a teacher. Well, the president obviously is in a position of power, a job interviewer. Another company who you want to do business with would also be in a form of a position of power. Informal letters could be sent to people who are your friends, family, maybe younger or same age, depending on the situation, maybe also older family members, and like classmates. So these kind of people that are about your age, maybe younger, you could use informal letters to do invitations or for business purposes. So, when do you use these letters? There's also a difference there. First of all, in a formal letter, if you're asking for a favor or you are asking a question, you should use a formal letter. If you're proposing something, okay, which is kind of like asking for a favor, so you want to do an activity, or you're suggesting that the company does this, or your company is suggesting that another company does this. formal letter is best. A resume and memos are also forms of formal letters. Informal letters are used more for daily activity, catching up with each other, inviting friends. So these are not business related. These are more personal communications. In those cases, you can use an informal letter, and that would be perfectly all right. So, today we're going to focus more about the formal letter, because in an informal letter, as long as it is understood, you are okay. So, the topics. Okay, so writing strategies. This is what you're going to do when you tackle a formal letter. First of all, topic. What are you writing about? That is probably one of the more important things with a business letter. A formal business letter. You need to know what you're writing about. Who are you writing it for? So there's the audience. This is the person that's receiving it. If it's your boss, possibly they have the power of your promotion in their hands. If it's another company, if it is the owner of a company, there would be different things. If it's a government regulator, it would also be a slightly different tone. And then purpose. Why are you writing? Why don't you just pick up a phone and call them? Why do people use writing when they have easy communications through speaking? Probably one of the main reasons is in writing, it is like a legal document. So, the form. How are you going to write it? So these are some writing strategies, some questions to ask yourself before you do it. What are you writing about? So topic. Who are you writing to? The audience. The purpose of your writing, which is why are you writing at all? I mean, if it's not that important, just call the person. Probably would be enough. Form. How are you going to write it? These things need to stay in your head as you were working through your writing. Now, if you're describing an event or something that has happened in a time sequence, you would need to put things in a chronological order. So, you need to start with the first thing and work through each of the following things. So you're going to start with first and begin there, and then the second thing, and then the third thing. This is similar to most important to least important, which you should also use if it is not time related. So go through if you're talking about a planned MT or if you're talking about a business trip, possibly you would use chronological ordering for something. Or if you're giving directions for someone to do something. First you need to do this, then we do this, then we would do this. So you're explaining what is going to happen. And first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. You'll notice that we are using the cardinal, not ordinal numbers, and they end with the TH, except for first, second, third, which have different ones. 11th is TH, but when you get up to 21, it would go 21st. So after 20, it does go 21st, 22nd, 23rd. I actually do see mistakes about this on signs on a regular basis around the streets of Korea. So just be aware of that in case someone ever asks you for proofreading. Okay, so you've decided who you're going to write it to, and it is someone on our formal letter list. What do you need to do? There is a formula here. The first thing you need to do in the top right-hand corner of the letter is the sender's address. That would be you, and a date, whatever the date you're writing the letter is. Date being sent, possibly. Then, skip down a little bit, move over to the left, receiver's address. When you're talking about the receiver's address, you're actually going to use who you're sending it to. So this would be the address that is on the letter that you are sending. Then, dear, and we talked about this last week with business, or yesterday, last video, with business emails. Dear Mr. or Miss, if you know a name. it is best to try to find out a name so that your letter doesn't end up in some secretary's office. If it is a very important letter, if you do not have a name, it may not get to that person. Then you write the letter. We'll talk about that later. Basically, main idea first, then details, then contact information. That would be the sequence of most business letters. The details might be a chronological ordering of something or a sequence of how to do something. Then, usually, you would have sincerely, and then you would sign it and then have name and position typed underneath. So it would be sincerely, my signature, and then my name written out and my position. That is the form of a formal letter. If you're sending an informal letter, it is kind of nice to have a date on an informal letter just so people know when you wrote it. Mail does not get delivered as quickly as email, and so maybe it is a little bit time issue. And so if they see you wrote it in November and then they called and talked to you before it arrived in December, they will understand that it might be older information. And then hi and their name. Basically, an informal letter, pretty much anything goes as long as the person understanding it, reading it, understands. It does not matter what you write. This is where you would use your OMGs and LOLs and things like that. You would not use them in a formal letter. Then some form of closing. It can be anything. If you're writing to a girlfriend/wife, maybe you write love, okay, or boyfriend/husband, depending on which one you have. And then your name. And you can put little hearts on your name and color it pretty colors. It's an informal letter. You're just communicating, so whatever you write, as long as it's understood, it does not matter. The formal letter, the business letter, does matter. So, how do we write a formal letter, okay? And for this situation, we're going to actually kind of go through planning an event. All right, now it doesn't have to be a real event, but maybe think about an MT, okay? As you are finishing university, you probably have some experience with the wonderful membership training. So think about what it would be like to write a business letter to Dongguk University, and you are going to suggest an MT, and you're trying to get money from the university to pay for it. You don't come straight out, please give me money, okay, but we'll go through this, okay? So take some time when you start writing this. Take maybe 5 minutes, maybe pause the video here, take 5 minutes and kind of think about what MT you would like to do. It's winter, maybe you want a ski adventure. Maybe you would like to have a planning session for next year's student activities, or whatever the idea for the MT is. Okay, write down some ideas, determine which one is the best, and circle it. Okay, a brainstorm is always good. This is kind of like a free-form brainstorm where you just write things down on a piece of paper. As I said, if you haven't done it already, please pause the video here and try to do it. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next section of the video. Hopefully you have your topic now. And the next topic is step 2, pre-writing. So you've picked an MT, okay? Great, that's wonderful. That's what you were supposed to do. Now, what you need to do is come up with a timeline for this MT. And so this business letter is a proposal for an event. So they might want to know, if you're asking for money, what are you doing? What's this money going towards? So a timetable would show this, and it would kind of highlight. So if you're going skiing, maybe you want some money to help offset the price of skis. Maybe, the bus leaves from Dongguk University. Okay, you're going to need a bus, and that's going to cost money. Or maybe one of the university buses could take you. I don't know. What time does it start? When does it meet? Okay, so start at the beginning and work through. So bus leaves Dongguk University Bear statue at 11 a.m. on Friday or whatever. Okay, it goes to this place. It gets there at 1 p.m. or something. Okay, make sure you include all of the important events of the MT, what time the bus leaves, when it arrives at destination, kind of blocks of time. Okay, you don't need super specific things, but maybe arrives at ski resort at 1:30. Check into rooms and get ready to go skiing from 1:30 to 2. At 2 o'clock, go to the ski slopes and ski until 5:30 p.m. 5:30, return to rooms, change for dinner. 6 to 7 would be a group dinner. 7 to 8 would be team building, or whatever you want to call it. So go through the events of what's going to happen in what order. Most companies would like to see this before they approve an event. And the last step should be bus returns to Dongguk University at Saturday evening, 7 p.m. or whatever it is. Okay? So show what's going to happen and show who's going to be what, where, when. And this will also show why you're asking for certain amounts of money, because it's going to be obvious. You need a bus to take you there. You need a bus to take you back. Rooms, because you're spending one night. Ski gear. I don't know if that's something you would ask for. You're talking about lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch maybe, and that would maybe be included, or maybe you would include that students need to pay this much, but we would like some school funding to cover the rest, or something like that. Okay, but that would be the chronological order, so that would be step 2. Take a few minutes, pause the video here, and try to write this down. Just jot it down on a piece of paper, maybe underneath your main idea. You are going to have to type this up later to be able to include it into your homework assignment. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Once again, I'm starting on the left-hand side of the screen, so 8:30 bus leaves. 9 o'clock, bus arrives at Everland. Okay, 9:30, reservation for roller coaster. They do have the Q Pass, so maybe you could work that. They do have some group reservations. 10 o'clock, reservation at Viking. Right, I don't know, I'm just throwing out things. 12 o'clock, lunch at Alpine Village, so maybe it's free time in the middle. 1 p.m., group photos. 2 o'clock, drinking contest. Okay, I'm not sure that I would put the drinking contest in if I was sending it to the university. 5 o'clock, reservation for other roller coaster. Okay, meet back at the buses and return to Dongguk at 12:30 a.m. So this would be the timeline that you're talking about for like a one-day trip to Everland. So when you're writing, okay, so this is our example. Now we're going to start to organize the letter here. And so we start off with the heading. Who are you going to talk to this about? So first of all, what is the school's address? Well, look up Dongguk's address. Okay, Dongguk's address actually is, and I've got it right here somewhere. Dongguk's address is Suji-gu, Yongin-shi, Gyeonggi-do, South Korea, 44-1, Jukjeong-dong. Okay, so you can include that in your information. Then date. What day is it? Okay, well, it would be whatever day this is today. Contact person or address. Who are you sending this to? If it's a professor, then it might be Dr. or Mr. or Miss. Maybe it's the head of the student association or something like that. Greeting, dear, whoever this person is that you're contacting. Okay, now in your body, you'll notice that I actually have something before the first, second, third, the timeline. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to do date. So what day is it and what location are you going to go? So this would be a sentence along the lines of, on January 15th, 2017, the IEDU Club would like to take an MT to Everland Resort. So you would explain that. Maybe you would explain a little bit about why you were going to do it. This trip will be to help us be able to work out details for future activities for our club, and also to have a good time and getting to know each other better through riding the rides at the amusement park. Then you would go through the event start time. The bus would leave Dongguk University at 8:30 a.m., and then you would go through the lists. 9 a.m., arrive at Everland, and so on and so forth. List the activities and the time, and then you would probably put in how much money you think it would cost. Everland tickets cost, bus costs. Each member should be responsible for their ticket to Everland. However, we would like money from the university to help defray the cost of the bus, or something like that. Closing, sincerely, or your friend. Sincerely is better. It is more businesslike. So I would use sincerely, and then signed name and handwritten name, and then your position. Okay? Homework. What I would like you to do is to write a formal letter to propose an MT for a Dongguk University club to Dongguk University, trying to get some money to help defray costs. Upload it to the LMS. It is worth 20 points. This will be graded based on the completion of the project. So if it's finished and all the points are there, you'll get 20 points. If it's not, you won't. Okay? And that concludes Day 8 of Business-Related English.